My name is Noble Thomas, with the board member with the North Carolina Integrated Medical Society. And I have with us one of our speakers that's going to be here for our 2022 conference in Raleigh, who's a leader of the Linus Pauling Institute. We all know the work of Linus Pauling, as he discovered vitamins, well, not discovered, worked on some of the big benefits of vitamin C. And he was one of the few people to win Nobel Prizes in two different areas. Won a Nobel Prize for his molecular research, and Nobel Prize, a Peace Prize as well, for his work in trying to decrease the proliferation of nuclear weapons. So I give you Dr. Emily Ho, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself and what great things she's going to show us at the conference.
Yeah, I'm really excited to join the conference. Thanks so much for the invitation. As mentioned, I'm Emily Ho, and behind me is a photo of Linus Pauling. I'm the institute director. We really try to take the inspiration of Dr. Pauling in terms of the power of nutrition, micronutrients, compounds that we find from our diet and how it affects our health. But similar to Dr. Pauling in terms of providing that science and that innovation, the Institute and myself are really deeply committed to making a difference in people's lives as well. And we know more than ever, our health is really important. And a couple things that have happened, especially over the last couple of years, is that there's just so much misinformation out there. In terms of the power of nutrition, what supplements you could take. And we're really here to provide that science in terms of what these nutrients and supplements do, and sometimes what they don't do, and make that actionable in terms of what we can tell our patients, what we can tell the general population, and really help people take charge back of their life and really take back health care rather than sick care, and how you can set yourself up for optimal health and to really truly thrive. At the conference, I'm going to talk about two of my favorite nutrients. One is the micronutrient zinc, which also has gotten a lot of press over the last couple of years in terms of its role in immune function and in particular, how it may protect against infections. So I'm going to talk quite a bit in terms of the evidence for this, what are some of the recommendations from the Linus Pauling Institute, and some of the challenges that we have as healthcare practitioners, specifically around markers of zinc deficiency and properly assessing and making those recommendations. The second piece that I'm going to talk about is relative to some of Dr. Pauling's work in terms of nutrients that help with cancer. And at OSU and the Linus Pauling Institute, I'm known a little bit as the broccoli lady on campus because I study the power of compounds that are derived from broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables, and how they can impact cancer processes, especially in some of the major cancers that we see here in the US, like prostate, breast cancer, and colorectal cancer. We'll dive into some of the mechanisms, and again, kind of what the recommendations are, and what you can do as a person to optimize your health and make it real. That we know that information is not necessarily, we want to provide the right information, but we also want to provide the tools for people to really be able to take action on some of the recommendations that we have. So I'll talk a little bit about what we've done at the Institute and some tips for you all as well.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Well, we thank you and we look forward to you attending. Now, well, there's some extended questions. What are some of the other work that's going on at the Linus Pauling Institute? Because Linus Pauling was a major person. Even some of my presentations used to do on hemoglobins. I used to talk about his work in discovering the molecular component of sickle cell disease. Mm-hmm. And so what are some of the other work that's being done there that sort of carries on his legacy and things of that sort?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of different projects. A lot of the Institute faculty work kind of in this space big space of healthy aging. And it's not necessarily just studying older individuals, it's really how to set yourself up for healthy aging. We know as we age, things start to decline, in particular things like our mitochondrial function, the powerhouses of our cells that really are responsible for our energetics, but also are really important for our stress responses. So we have several researchers that are trying to understand that process and have identified new diet-based compounds, for example, that may help keep the mitochondrial function going. We also have quite a few researchers that study neurodegenerative diseases. So diseases like Lou Gehrig's disease or ALS, Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. And again, have identified new compounds that might help slow down the degeneration, help with keeping memory, slowing down dementia as we age as well. We also have researchers that are very interested in metabolic disease. More recently, we've been very much more interested in kind of that gut brain and axis as well. So how your gut health impacts the way that you use these various nutrients, and how that not only impacts your gut health, but may also have big impacts on your brain and many other systems in your body as well. We also are a pretty strong innovator in phytochemical research. So really, we have some amazing natural product chemists that really look at plants almost as drugs, and are doing massive kind of screening projects to identify new compounds from plants that may have health benefits as well. The last thing that our institute does, we have this resource called the Micronutrient Information Center. That's a huge, it's basically, I like to call it the evidence-based Wikipedia of all things diet, nutrition, and phytochemicals. So we're constantly building that database to provide more information for both practitioners and the general public about various aspects of your diet and health.
Yeah,
so a lot of different things.
I've been to that database and I found it to be very helpful. One of the things in the Integrated Medical Society and that we have to deal with sometimes, you see people say, I'm eating all the right food, but I'm still not getting the benefit. So that gut health piece plays a role. If they're eating the right food, it's not getting absorbed.
Absolutely.
Then there's still an issue. So that's good. That's your research, that your institute is taking that route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole concept of kind of personalized health and precision health. So how your gut microbiota influence how you utilize nutrients, how your genotype, but also how your environment may also change your dietary needs is also an important new direction that the Institute's going with.
Yeah, you found that everyone doesn't have the same nutrient needs, so the specific.
Yeah. The one size fits all is not necessarily something that we need to rethink.
Right, exactly. Is there something that sort of drove you? I read about Dr. Pauling, Linus Pauling, what drove him in that direction, because he originally was interested in more archaeology, rocks, and studying those things. And we had the incident where his mother was diagnosed with we had a B12 deficiency. It was ruled to be insane because of the effects of that. And later he had the problem where he had he was sort of going to die for a kidney issue. He was treated with nutrition. So that sort of drove him in that direction. What drove you in your direction?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I thought growing up, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I'm a big avid pet lover. So I thought that was going to be my route. And similar to med school, it's pretty competitive to get into veterinary school. So I thought, well, I should get some research experience to, help with my application. So I worked in I got a student research internship in a genetics lab. And at that time, right about that time, they'd recently discovered that genetic defect in the enzyme copper zinc superoxide dismutase was the cause of the familial form of Lou Gehrig's disease. So my genetics lab was looking at that, and it really kind of opened my eyes in terms of the free radical theory of disease, in terms of how oxidants were slowly basically rusting, and that's a major cause of disease processes. And that really lit a light bulb in my head. But the other light bulb that got lit up was, I asked my genetics professor, like, we're studying all these genetic defects, but if oxidants are the problem, why can't we just treat with antioxidants? And where do we get antioxidants? And the first thing he said is, well, actually, the foods that we eat have a lot of these antioxidants. So for me, I was like, well, that seems like a simple thing to do. Why don't we just do that then? Yeah. And that really set me on that path of really linking kind of the mechanisms, understanding the mechanisms, but having these accessible things, i.e. our foods, to be able to target those mechanisms. The other thing I like to kind of joke about is my family. So my dad is an engineer, but my mom is a public health nurse. So for me, the field of nutrition is a perfect blend of both their strengths, where I still can be kind of that science geek and look closely at mechanisms, but everything that I do affects people. And I can directly see how my research can drive how to help my mom, how to help my grandma, how to help the people around me as well. So it's been a great fit for me in terms of my career, and definitely a big passion of mine.
It's like you engineering in your research, you engineering public health.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, from your research, the public will be healthier.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And so it's great. Well, I know that you and I could probably talk a lot and talk all day, but maybe you can tell us a little something that's kind of interesting about you that you like for people to know, or some hobby or something like that.
So if you ever have a chance to visit me here at Oregon State University, it's a small college town, and between teaching and research, I know quite a bit of the town, but I also know a lot of people. I like to embody, I guess, healthy lifestyle. So I also teach cardio kickboxing as one of my side things that I do. So it's funny, like I said, my students either know me through my nutrition classes, through my outreach, or sometimes they know me as their fitness instructor. And again, for me, it's just something personally. I'm very busy, like many of you. And for me, just being the instructor, I have it in my schedule and I can't skip. I have to be there. So that's, a way that I've been able to manage, making the time, or forcing myself to make the time to get some exercise. And it's also, for me, a big mental health avenue for me as well. There's not many, there's no other classes that I can, yell at people for a full hour, and they actually love it that I'm yelling at them.
Yeah, so that sort of brings in the holistic health piece. We're more than just physical.
Absolutely.
We're more, yeah. So that's awesome. That's great. So if we ever have to walk down a dark alley on your visit, I want you to walk with me, okay?
Okay.
All right. So I'd like to thank you again for coming, is agreeing to be one of our speakers.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to be able to see all you and all the folks in person.
Yeah, I think you'll be excited. We have a good group coming.